Good morning, good afternoon or good evening depending on when you are watching this. Mr. Jenkins here. We are going to look at trigonometry this morning, revision, because you'll remember learning this in class. Thought today we'd do a little bit of a recap on it, so we're going to do part 1. Let's see what you can remember. Trigonometry is to do with triangles. Tri means 3, gon means angle, and metry means measure. So trigonometry is a fancy way to say 3-angle measure. Today we're going to deal with a right angled triangle. So this is 90 degrees here, and we have 2 acute angles here and here. One of these angles we're going to label X. Now, this side is called the hypotenuse. That's because it's the longest side. So H is the hypotenuse, and that's the longest side. We can see by observation that it's the longest. It's also opposite the right angle as well. The longest side will always be opposite the right angle. This side is the opposite side. O equals opposite, and that's because it's opposite the angle marked X. Opposite marked angle. Which leaves this side, which is A, which is the adjacent, which means next to the marked angle. There we go. Now, in that case, the marked angle was X, but as we've seen, we often use this symbol, which is a Greek letter called theta. Theta. And the reason why that's important is we often mark angles with theta, which is a little circle with a line through. So in relation to theta, this would be the adjacent, this would be the opposite, and this would be the hypotenuse. Longest side, H. The side next to the angle marked theta is A, adjacent, and this side is the opposite side because that's opposite the angle marked theta. Let's see if you can do that. Here's yours. Pause the video, copy the triangle, and try and label all of the sides with A, O, and H. Okay, let's see if you've done this correctly. That is the opposite side, that is the hypotenuse, and that there is the adjacent. Okay, so we've got the idea of labelling sides with the correct label, whether it be opposite, adjacent or hypotenuse. Now, let's have a look at our 3 trigonometric ratios, which are sin, cos and tan, which is short for sine, cosine and tangent. Now, the mnemonic that we use varies depending on personal choice. Let's go for silly old Hitler. Couldn't advance his troops over Africa. silly old Hitler couldn't advance his troops over Africa. Or so ka tower. Remember, S is short for sin, and you should always put the angle in there too, so sin theta. C is short for cos, so that's cos theta, and T is short for tan, so that's tan theta. Short task is to identify the correct ratio, whether it be sin, cos or tan that needs to be used. Let's say we've got a 50-degree angle here, a side marked X and a side marked 9 centimeters. Then we have a triangle with an angle marked theta, a side marked 20 centimeters and a side marked 8 centimeters. And finally, another right angle triangle, an angle marked 40 degrees, X and 6 centimeters. Pause the video and try and write down whether you think we would be using sin, cos or tan for each triangle. Okay, let's see if you were right or not. So we're going to start with labelling all the sides. H, let's put all the H's in, because that's nice and easy. That's the longest side, remember. In relation to the angle that's marked, so in this case 50 degrees, the side X will be the opposite side, and the 9 would be the adjacent. Next one, in relation to the angle marked theta, this side is the opposite and this side is the adjacent. And on the last one, in relation to the angle marked 40, this side is the adjacent and this side is the opposite. Now we're going to cross out the one that is not involved in each question. So in the first one we don't need H because it's not got a label on it. There's no X or number. So all we're left with is O and A, which is this here. Look, O and A uses tan, or in other words, tan is the one that doesn't use H. So tan uses O and A, so that's a tan question. The middle one is a and H because we're not using O, so that's a cos question because cos is the one that uses A and H. And the final one does not use the adjacent, so that's a sin question because sin is the one that uses O and H. O and H here, so that's a sin. Okay, now once we've established that, we can then go on to work out the lengths of sides and angles, and that's the usefulness of this topic, is that we can calculate the length of sides, which is a very useful skill. Now, what I'd like you to do is try the first trigonometry task on Hegarty Maths. I've set 2 of them. Have a go at the first one and practice those skills. If you're confident, you can move on to task 2. I'll release another video on Monday to help you with task 2. So stay tuned for that, work hard today, and I'll see you again in the next video.